Well, hello and welcome. I was gone last week, but it's good to be back. This is Cord Cutting Weekly, where we wrap up the past week in streaming and cord cutting news. And this week we're going to talk about the rise and fall of Quibi, Netflix's latest subscriber numbers, some moving and shaking over at ViacomCBS, and more. But first, as usual, please do consider clicking those like and subscribe buttons down below if you haven't done so already. We really appreciate it, and you'd be joining a very cool community. And with that, let's dive right into the news, shall we? And we'll start with an end. And yes, it's an end that wasn't all too surprising. We're talking, of course, about Quibi, the much maligned mobile-focused streaming service that just couldn't generate enough interest to stay afloat. We've been reporting on the streaming service's struggles and its efforts to grow its brand over the course of the year. And even earlier this week, we reported that the Quibi app would be finally coming to Apple TV, Android TV, and Fire TV. But then later in the week, the Wall Street Journal confirmed that Quibi is indeed looking to shut down and is hiring a firm to evaluate its future options. Now, if you haven't been following along in this saga, Quibi launched this past April with a focus on short snippets of video content, aka quick bites. So instead of watching a full-length movie or a 30-minute TV show episode, content on the service was broken down into smaller chunks of, say, 3 to 5 minutes each. And the shows and movies were produced to be viewable in either portrait or landscape mode so you could follow along on your phone no matter which way you're holding it. But the service's rocky start has been well publicized, including meager social sharing features and poor casting support for those who actually wanted to watch the shows and movies on larger screens like their TVs at home. And we'll continue to monitor the service as it winds down. One thing to keep an eye on is what could happen to the content Quibi offered. Beyond the wealthy investors and executives who were involved with the service, the company's closing also had a big impact on its employees, obviously, and creators who were producing content for the service. So it'll be worth watching where some of those shows and movies might land in the future. And if you were a Quibi subscriber, is there a show or movie on there that you hope finds a new home? Feel free to comment down below. Meanwhile, we're starting to see more stats and figures for the third quarter of 2020. And Netflix says it's added some 2.2 million subscribers, leading to a total of 195.15 million users worldwide. Now, the company had estimated it would add around 2.6 million in this third quarter, so that total actually comes in slightly lower. But Netflix says part of the reason for a slowdown in growth is just because it had such a huge first half of the year. Of course, a lot of that growth stems from effects from the ongoing pandemic and more folks spending time at home over the past few months, and Netflix says it's added just over 28 million memberships during the first 9 months of 2020. It also pointed out that that growth occurred while the overall streaming landscape added some major competitors, including Peacock and HBO Max, not to mention Disney Plus's continued growth. Of course, adding new members is one thing, but keeping them subscribed is something else entirely. And it'll be interesting to see how Netflix works to keep that engagement going for the long term. And speaking of Netflix, the streaming service is apparently exploring new ways to draw in potential new customers following its recent removal of a 30-day free trial. Now, we reported on the free trial removal last week, and we've now seen some reports of some sort of StreamFest scheduled for December 4th that looks like it'll be a 2-day event where non-customers can stream Netflix content for free. A Netflix spokesperson confirmed that a free weekend event is indeed coming, and the goal, as you might imagine, is to give folks a taste of what the service has to offer, and ideally get a whole bunch of those folks to sign up. We're still awaiting more details about the event, including whether or not it'll be open to everyone, and other potential limitations, but for now, if you've been on the fence about checking out the streaming juggernaut, it looks like you'll get a 48-hour free preview soon. And in more earnings news, AT&T reported this week that it lost about 590,000 premium video subscribers in the last quarter. The company's live TV streaming service, AT&T TV Now, lost some 37,000 subscribers. Overall, the company ended Q3 with around 17.1 million premium TV subscribers, which is down roughly 16.3% year over year, and AT&T TV Now's current total of 683,000 subscribers represents a drop of around 40.3% year over year. However, AT&T also reported that HBO and HBO Max subscriptions have hit 38 million here in the US and 57 million globally, and that includes around 8.6 million users activating an HBO Max account. To date, the company says it's invested about $600 million into HBO Max during the quarter, and yes, with all that growth and investment, the service still isn't available on Roku or Fire TV devices, but if those two obstacles are ever overcome, it'll be interesting to see how far HBO Max could grow in the future. As for other growth measures, the company again confirmed plans to introduce an ad-supported or lower-cost tier for HBO Max, as well as a goal of offering the service internationally in 2021. So things should get real interesting for the still young streaming service real soon. Stay tuned. In industry news, ViacomCBS continues to shape and reshape its streaming service plans. We've already seen the company announce a new name and branding for its CBS All Access service, and this week the company said it's restructuring its streaming business. That changeup includes moving Pluto's TV CEO Tom Ryan into the role of president and CEO of ViacomCBS Streaming. In that new role, Ryan will reportedly oversee CBS All Access, or as it will soon be known, Paramount Plus, but it'll also continue to guide the company's free streaming option, Pluto TV. Of course, it'll be interesting to see where Ryan takes the company's streaming efforts in the coming year, but it's already clear that ViacomCBS is pinning a lot of hopes on streaming in 2021. So we'll continue to monitor the company's moves as we roll into the new year. In other streaming news, it looks like Hulu is joining the ranks of streaming services losing regional sports networks recently. The company sent out an email to subscribers notifying them that as of this week, the service will no longer carry several RSNs, or regional sports networks. The email adds that Hulu and Sinclair were unable to reach an agreement, leading to the loss of several channels, and here's a full list of the affected channels. And Hulu says this change will happen on October 23rd, which could be today, depending on when you're viewing this episode. And naturally, Hulu does point out that you'll still have access to sports content on several nationwide networks, including ESPN, TNT, TBS, and Fox Sports 1 and 2. And as Jess points out in the post linked in the video description down below, several services, including Fubo TV, YouTube TV, and Sling TV, have removed these RSNs over the past year or so, but you can still currently access those channels via AT&T TV Now's Max plan. And from dropping sports channels to actually adding some, we move on to Sling TV, which announced that it's launching the Big Ten Network on a streaming service this week. Now, way back in December, Sling announced that it would carry BTN for the 2020-2021 college football season. And of course, the launch of this year's college football season has been a little different due to the effects of COVID-19, but Big Ten games are scheduled to start this week, and so, as promised, BTN has arrived on the service. The games kick off on Friday, October 23rd, when Illinois visits number 14 Wisconsin at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and you can add BTN to your Sling Blue account via the Sports Extra add-on, which tacks on another $10 per month. And here's a list of other games scheduled to air on BTN this weekend. And of course, you can find out more at the full post linked down below in the video description. And in hardware news, Silicon Dust's HDHomeRun Connect 4K is now officially available for pre-order. The over-the-air tuner was first made available via a Kickstarter campaign earlier this year, and supporters have started to receive their devices. And now the company has opened up pre-orders on its site for anyone else who wants in on the action. To sum up, this new OTA box has 4 onboard tuners, but what's special is that 2 of those tuners are compatible with ATSC 3.0, or Next Gen TV. And we're starting to see a few more markets around the country go live with ATSC 3.0 support, and we expect that number to increase over time. And while it's certainly nice if your local broadcast market currently supports that new broadcasting standard, you'll still need compatible hardware to enjoy all that new over-the-air signal, which is where devices like the HDHomeRun Connect 4K come in. The new device retails for $199.99, and you can find a link to the pre-order page in our post, linked down below in the video description. And if you happen to be one of those early backers for the new HDHomeRun, feel free to share your experiences so far in the comments section down below. And in other hardware news, it's worth pointing out that we just reviewed the new Chromecast with the Google TV. The new streaming dongle has been the subject of lots and lots of rumors and leaks leading up to its official unveiling, but now that it's finally available, we wanted to see how it stacks up compared to some of the other $50 or so streaming devices currently on the market. So if you haven't done so already, feel free to check the video review out. We'll have a link down below in the video description and a link up here in the corner as well. And honestly, it's been a super busy time when it comes to new hardware. All sorts of companies are getting their new or updated devices on the market just in time for the holiday shopping season, and we're aiming to cover even more in the near future. Last week, in case you missed it, we did a full review on the 2020 edition of the Roku Ultra, so be sure to check that one out as well if you haven't done so. And stay tuned, more hardware reviews are coming soon. Should be fun. And that takes us to the end of another week here at Cord Cutting Weekly. Ready or not, we're quickly approaching Halloween, so if you have any go-to scary movies you return to year after year, feel free to let us know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you're new to the channel, please do consider clicking those like and subscribe buttons down below. On Wednesdays, you can catch Jess hosting a live Q&A session with our viewers and subscribers. And then on Thursdays, we dive deep into a specific topic, like, say, reviewing new hardware. And then we kick off the weekend on Friday with Cord Cutting Weekly. For now, though, thanks as always for tuning in. My name is still Philip Palermo, and I still hope you have a safe and wonderful weekend. Take care.